Thank you very much. Good morning. I still need 10 minutes to say good afternoon. So it's still morning. Anyways, the demonstration I'm going to do is on AntConc tool, which is a program for concordance. So we'll start first with what's a concordance and why do we need it. So the computer can present us with co-occurrence information in the basic form of a concordance. A concordance is a collection of the occurrences of a word form, each in its own textual environment. This is an example. So, for example, this might be a concordance of give. It not give me the time, Rosemary, give me another, would not give match for that. So here give is given in its context. Now, we will see some of the functions that this tool does. So it's a freeware. You can download it for free. It's open source, multi-platform tool for carrying out corpus linguistics research and data-driven learning. It has a variety of search options. Not only words, it can find words, phrases, tags, documents, text types, corpus structures, and display the results in the context in the form of a concordance. So it can be sorted. You'll see how filtered, counted, and processed further to obtain the desired results. It has 7 tools, starting with the first one, which is the basic concordance you can find in any concordancer, which is, it shows results in a quick, meaning keyword in context format. So let's start with that. So you just double click on the icon here. It runs as a system. It does not do installation. And here, in order to open a file, first of all, your file needs to be in TXT format. So if you have any kind of document, for example, here, so you just save it. And in saving it, instead of the document word here, you choose text brute, and your file would be ready for processing. Now I have my file. You click on Open File here. And it's a collection of US news on Islam, Muslims, the Muslim community in general. Now, when you have a text, you want to look at patterns, and if there are collocations, and you want to discover, to look at your text clearly, and it will give you ideas on what theme you want to work on exactly. So let's start with the first function, which is the concordance tool. For example, since it's US news on Islam, let's just type Islam here in the search term, and we click on Start. So it will give you here the number of hits. It's 58. So it has 58 hits. It occurred 58 times in the corpus, and it gives you here the context where it occurs. Now, if you can notice, there are words which are colored. These are the quick or the keyword in context. Here, if you look here, the quick sort, you have 3 levels. So you can choose which context you want. For example, I can choose the context to the left instead of right here. I can go for example, 1 word to the left, 2 words to the right, 3 words to the right, and then sort again. As you can see here, what's on the left is sorted. Now we see that to see patterns. For example, here, something that is repeated here is of Islam over Islam. Radical, this is, for example, a pattern. Radical Islam is repeated a lot. Now, if I want to deal with words like Islam, Islamic, Islamist, Islamists, etc. Instead of doing there is a different search for each one, we just add an asterisk here. And I click on Start again. As you can see, now we have 173 words, occurrences, with Islam, Islamist, Islamic, different, that is realizations, different characters. Whatever we have Islam plus other characters, you'll find all of them. Again, you can look for patterns. Here we have Islamist extremism, terrorism, terror, etc. So by exploring now, by the way, the texts were that is randomly selected. I didn't go for Islam and terrorism or Islam and extremism. So this gives you an idea about what is on the US news about Islam and Muslims, etc. Now, there are other options that you can do. Here, if you notice, we have case. So if I put case here, if I write with a capital I or with a small I, it will respect that case. For example, if I write it like that, it won't give me any hit because there are no occurrences where Islam is written with a small cap. So here. And we have what we call a regular expression search. Now, if you want to explore your text and look for words with a certain formula, you have two word boundaries, and then you write the formula yourself. So you start with the first word boundary, you write B for word boundary. For example, I want to deal with all the words that start with R and ends with T, and I want to sort them. And I write R, then A to Z here, to say that it can be any letter from A to Z in between. Then, sorry, here we have the plus sign. And finally, we end with another word boundary. We end with, we said ending with T. And so what do we have here? We have 54 words that start with R and ends with T. For example, result, recent, restaurant, reluctant. This is very good, especially when you are investigating spelling or something related to that. Now, there are lots of advanced features that you can use while dealing with the system. So if you click on advanced here we can use terms, and here you can use several terms. For example, I can write Islam, then terrorism, or you can go for as many words as you can, and you apply and start. So anything with Islam and terrorism is mentioned in the sort. We have another option, which is very important, especially if you are looking for patterns, which is using context words and horizons. So it will search the words in the horizons of other words that you may suspect there is a certain collocation or something. For example, if I write here, since I've noticed that there is terrorism and extremism and radical, for example, you can add as many words as you wish. Now, the context horizon is where do they appear? 5 words to the left, 5 words to the right. If you want a larger context, you can go, for example, to 6 or 7 or whatever number of words you wish, depending on your choice. And here we click apply. Now I'm going to search for the word Islam in the vicinity of extremism, radical, and terrorism. So these are the results. Here we have, for example, radical. Here we have terrorism. Here we have also in the vicinity of radical, whether here terrorism, whether on the right or on the left. Now let's say that you want more context. Here we have a search window size. You can go, for example, for 70. And it gives you a larger context, as you may see here. Now, if you are, especially if you are doing sampling, let's say you are working on prepositions in a text of 1 million words, or even in a text of 10,000 words, they will have great frequency. And you cannot study all instances, so you want to do a certain kind of sampling. What you need to do here, for example, you can say, show every nth row. For example, you can go for just every third result. And here, so this is result number 1, result number 3, number 6, and number 9. You can go for the 10th, for the 100th. It depends for that is on how many instances that you want to study. And here, what you did is a randomized search. So you are being objective, and your results would be objective. Now, let's go to the normal search, not the context horizon 1. We move to what we call a concordance plot. This is very useful, specifically when you're comparing texts. Let's say that you are working on a TV text or on literature, and you are working on novels, and you want where the characters appear throughout the plot of the novel to see their frequent or infrequent appearances. So I'm going to add a text here to show you how it works. From COCA, which is the sample of American English. Since there are news, let's take another example of news. And for example, I'll look for report. It will take some time. Okay. So for report, here, we can go bigger to see the plot. We have 90 hits for the sample of American English on news, and we have just 3 hits in the sample we have because it's not a large sample. And here you have, this is where the first word appears, the second and the third, and for the other ones, all the appearances are also there. And if I click here, it will take me to the exact place of the word in its context if I want to see it. Again, this is very helpful if you are dealing with a comparison of texts, especially if they are large texts and you want to place, to see especially characterization and their placement in the text. Okay, then we were in the file view. This is where you can view the instances. For example, here we have, if I go on, it will direct me to all the instances of report in the corpus. Moving to clusters and engrams, and here we are discovering patterns. So the clusters tool shows clusters based on the search condition. In effect, it summarizes the results generated in the concordance tool or concordance plot tool. And the engram tool, on the other hand, scans the entire corpus for an n, this is why it's engram, for an n words or 2 words, 3 words, we will see in a minute length clusters. And it will allow you to find common expressions in the corpus, to look for patterns. So first of all, let's delete. If you want to delete text, you just Close selected file. Now let's say that I want a cluster here with Islam again. Here we have the cluster size. When I have a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 2, it means we have a 2-word clusters. If I have here 3 2-word and 3-word clusters. If I have here, for example, 3 and here 4, 3-word and 4-word clusters. Here I have the minimum frequency. So, for example, I want that this phrase is repeated 3 times or more. You can go for 7, 8. It depends on the pattern and the frequency of the pattern that you are searching. For the range, it's about the text. So if I have 6 or 7 texts, I can require that this word should be in all the 7 texts, or in 2 texts, or in 3 texts. It depends. Now, in sorting also, we can sort by frequency, by range, by probability. We'll see these in a minute. Now, let's start the search. So, for clusters with Islam, and here, of course, I've written the asterisk, so Islamic, Islamist, anything is related, with 3 and 4 clusters and a minimum frequency of 3, we have 4 result, which is Islamic state group, and groups. I can go, for example, here for a minimum frequency of 2. I'll get more results. So Islamic extremist hail, and I'm getting patterns here, Islamic terrorism, etc. If I go for 2 to 4 clusters, I'll get more result. So Islamic terrorism, Islamic center, Islam extremists, Islam extremism, Islamic extremists hail, Trump Islamic jihad. As you can see, the patterns are clear. Again, I'll repeat that I didn't choose the titles. I collected news on Islam that is randomly. So here, what we can see are patterns. What we can interpret from this is the image that the US has on Islamic State and Muslims, etc. And we can see the patterns that we have here. Now, this is a pattern that I chose to study. I put Islam. There is another way when you are using Engrams. So if you click on it, as you can see, you cannot do a word search because it will search throughout the whole corpus on some patterns. So here you're going to discover patterns that maybe you didn't even know of in the corpus. So I'll choose 2 to 6, for example. And with a frequency, let's go for 6, at least 6 times in the text. And I start. As you can see here now, we have 226 types. What's the difference between a type and a token? So we have the token is how many times the phrase is repeated. The type is, for example, of the is a type, in the is a type. But as you can see here, they are repeated 95 and 66 times. That's token. So it counts all the frequencies. For type, it just counts the exact wording. So let's see the patterns. Islamic State with 40 times, the Islamic State group, the Muslim, human rights, United States, Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist, law enforcement, Islamic terrorism, etc. Now I can go for, if I go for a frequency of just 4, for example, we'll have more words and so on. Here we can invert the order. For example, you want to see not the patterns, but the opposite, the words that are not frequent at all in the system. In this case, So here we'll start with height. Let's go for a frequency of 1. So these are the words that are used, for example, just once. They are not frequent. A ban on Syrian refugees, a barbaric crime, etc. Now let's go for collocations, which are also very important. What's a collocation? This tool shows the collocates of a search term. It allows you to investigate non-sequential patterns in language. So the collocation doesn't have to be directly next, like when we've searched now clusters, either just next to the left or next to the right. It could be in its vicinity. So if I have this word, then it collocates, then there is a high probability that I'm going to have this word too in the text. So and here we can have from where to where, 5, for example, 5 words to the left, 5 words to the right, or you can go bigger or smaller depending on your research. And minimum collocate frequency, for example, let's go for 3 here, and we search. It tells you that it needs to jump to the word list tool to generate a word list, so you just go for OK. Now these are the collocations of the word Islam. Struggle, militants, injustice, blaming, hail, radical, Qaeda, extremism, Islamism, ideology, allegiance, extremists. I think it cannot get any clearer than that, the patterns that we are seeing and the collocations of the word Islam in US news media. Now, we can go by stat, and we can go, for example, you just want to see the frequency on the left. If it is just to the left, and here we find the collocations just to the left. You can go for by word, and here it will be in alphabetical order. So A, about, adversary, against, etc. We can go for by word and, that is the end of the word is in alphabetical order. Like here, Qaeda, Obama, Islamic, Jihad, etc. So we have different options that we can use. Let's move to the word list. Now, this is something any Concordancer can give you. So it will provide you here with all the words in the text from the most to the least frequent. So the most frequent one is the, then and of, and a, and to. Now, sometimes we are not looking for these. We know that prepositions and articles are the most frequent ones. We will see a way where you can just focus on other words and not on these prepositions and articles, of course, if you are not interested in them. And before that, we can create what we call a lemma list. And this is very interesting. First of all, what's a lemma? Normally from your semantics course, if you remember, you know it. So a lemma is the entry you find in a dictionary. And then you have realizations. For example, be is a lemma, while is, are, being, apostrophe s, I don't know, all of these are realizations of the lemma. Now, if I want to have a lemmatized list, for example, I'm interested not only in the words, but also in how they are lemmatized inside the corpus. So what I will do is go to tool preferences here, and to word list. And here, as you can see, we have lemma list. And I'm going to load it. Lemma lists are found everywhere on the internet. So you just say English Lemma List and you'll find it's like a sort of dictionary. And I choose my Lemma List here. As you can see here. So for example, quotient, we have quotient, quotients, quotienting, quotient, etc. It's loaded, apply, and search again. So here, this is a lemmatized word list. If you see here for B, it occurs 440 times, but here we have occurred twice, R 87, B 49, B 27, etc. Same thing here with say, we have said, say, and says. So this would be very helpful if you are studying lemmas and realizations in text. We can also search inside the word list. So for example, if I search for this word, I click search only, it will directly take me to the word inside the word list. Of course, you can save your search here, save output. And these are the results here. So you can use this word list, for example, for other purposes if you want to compare. There is something else that you can do. We have clone results here, and you'll find the results here. For example, you do another search, you clone them, and you can compare. Now let's see on how we can exclude some words from the word list. If you look here, word list range, what we are doing now is using all the words that we have in the corpus. We can use specific words, okay? Here, for example, you prepare a list, a TXT file. I just want these 20 words to be in the list, and you'll get their frequency. What's better is that you can use a stop list. Now, for example, I don't want articles. So the and a and in. Some prepositions which are always frequent, for example, of and from and in. Or you can prepare a whole list of what you don't want to see. And then we apply and we start again. As you can see, it used to be the and of at the very beginning of the list. Now we have be and to. So just the words that, all of the words that we put on the stop list are not found in the frequency. This might help a lot, especially if you are not interested in the words that are always frequent in all types, in all genres, like articles and prepositions. Now we'll move to keyness and keywords. If you want to see whether in this text and in this genre, if you are studying a genre, there are words that are keys just for this genre and not for other genres. Now, in order to do this, you need a reference corpus to compare the keyness of your words to. Now, what I chose is the COCA corpus, which is the corpus of American English. So since I'm dealing here with US news, when I deal with the corpus of American English, it has texts from not only news, but also fiction, non-fiction, literature, I don't know, TV, so all sorts of texts, and it constitutes what we call general English, general American English. So it could be a good corpus with which we can compare the keyness. Now, in order to do that, now if I say start here, it will say no reference corpus. So how to upload the corpus is you go to Tool Preferences, you choose Keyword List, and here we have different types of statistics that you can use, but they are not really easy to deal with if you are not familiar with chi-square and with coefficient, but they are all there if you want to try them. This is the basic choice that they give is the best for all values. You might want to try if you know something about that. So what I want to add is the reference corpus here. This is the COCA sample text. So from web, TV, spoken, news, magazines, fiction, blog, academia, all types of genres are represented. And I load here the reference corpus. Just a few moments for it to get loaded, sorry. There is an option here that's called show negative keywords. So it will also say that these words are supposed to be keys, but they are not keys in this case. Okay, it's loaded. Now we apply. And we go so here. These are the words that are considered keywords in news on US Muslims. So we have Islamic Muslim terrorism, terrorist attacks, attack, radical, France, if you remember the attacks on France, and this is why it's considered key in this text. Trump, terrorist refugees, attackers, etc. And then religion, brotherhood, jihadist. Actually, the patterns are very clear in this text. Instead of sorting by keyness, you can sort by effect, keyword, and frequency, for example, here. So it could be frequent, but it's not considered the keyword because it's also frequent in the reference corpus. If I go for frequency here, if you can see, you have said, they changed a little bit. And you can have a search only. It will directly show you the word. Now, the words that are very weakly negative are yourself, Jeddah, Islamophobic, etc. Now, let's see how we can save this on a Excel sheet, especially if you want to take the data into another software, or if you want to create a histogram or any kind of graph based on the data. So here, let's do the search again. Now, you need to click on Control, Alt, and A at the same time so that you can select this, and Control C, you choose an Excel file. And copy. Then, of course, here I need to make the columns bigger. Now, if you can see here, we have the results, but the words that I search, which is Islam and Islamic, etc., is not really clear. There is an option if you want to make it clear, which is you go here and you go for tool preferences of the concordance. Here you can put a delimiter around hits in the keyword in context display. Apply, start again. You notice here we have a space. Now you will see what that space does when you are saving the results on an Excel sheet. Now, Islam, Islamist, etc., they are on a column by themselves. So you can see the word in context and its context at the same time. And this is also specifically useful, especially if you are doing appendices, for example. It can also work on Arabic text. I might show you. Let's just get rid of this one. And I need here to go to the encoding. The files, do not choose just TXT files, but all types. And I'm going to import my data, which is in Arabic. You can find, by the way, corpora are for free almost everywhere on the internet. Just specify, for example, I don't know, Arabic news from this magazine, and you'll find people working on them, and you'll find them open source. Just a second so that I can access the corpus. Is it? Text files, yes. For example, here, I'll wait a second so that it loads. And here, for example, this is one. These are texts belonging to news articles in Al Khalij magazine. And I can do the concordance exactly like what I did in English. It's searching through hundreds of thousands of words, so this is why it's taken time. As you can see, the hits are augmenting as it does the search. So this is it. This is an example here. So I searched for Palestine, and this is the quick sort of Palestine, and you can also look for patterns also, shuhada, مساحة, قضية, etc. So you can use Arabic or English texts. For the plot here, you can see, now I'll show you since we have many texts. So here, this is where each word appears in the plot of the whole article. And this is it. So you can work with various languages. Thank you very much. This is the end of the tool. Thank you. Yes? Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so this one is a Concordancer. It deals with keywords in context. It discovers patterns. totally automatic. The corpus tool is semi-automatic. Besides this, it has concordance, and you can put a scheme, devise a scheme yourself into studying any linguistic or any grammatical structure that you want, and you manually annotate it, then you get the results automatically. This is not available here. So yeah, so it depends. If you just want an automatic analysis, you can use this, or also the automatic analysis of the corpus tool. But actually for discovering patterns, I think this one is more plausible. You just want to discover the patterns in your text, then you can also take it to the corpus tool and build on those patterns to create a scheme of study that you want to use in annotation. But yes, you can use both of them. Yes.
I didn't start the presentation from the beginning, so I was wondering about the semantic analysis. Is it possible to for the concordance to identify the recurrent themes in the text without you writing, for example, Islam or?
Yes, we did that for Engrams. Were you here for Engrams? No? So just very quickly. Yes. Yes, there are softwares that work on Google, and they would provide you the engrams of any text that you can upload. So here, let me choose the file again. For engrams, so you go to Clesser and engrams, you choose engrams, and here you choose the size, 2 words, 3 words. Let's choose from 2 to 5 word clusters, for example. The frequency. Let's go for a high frequency so that it's a pattern, and then we click start. For example, here you have Islamic State group, the US, Muslim Brotherhood, the terrorist, a Muslim, Al-Qaeda, the attacker. So as you can see, it gives you an idea about the themes that are discussed. Yeah. Not just words, of course, of course. Yes, you need to read into the patterns. It just gives you the pattern. This is it. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can put them in a file and do the categorization. Yes. Yes. Thank you.